Content warning. Paradox Live includes themes of trauma, child abuse and neglect, violence, suicide, death, human experimentation, and gang activity. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey there, heads! I hope you're all doing well, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to start talking about the storyline of Paradox Live. Now, some of this is being adapted currently in the anime series, but as in many anime adaptations, some things have been tweaked or rearranged for the sake of pacing, etc. While working on the script for the video I have planned to talk about the Desire and Justice drama tracks, I realized that I wanted to quickly brush up on the events of the opening show dramas, and talk about all of the character connections in one video. The opening show was a way to quickly introduce the units, characters, motivations, and the competition itself, and so I included most of the information in the unit introduction videos. But just to quickly recap the events, here we go. Bei, the Cat's Whiskers, Cozmez, and AKYR receive invitation letters to take part in the Paradox Live, a competition for the Phantom Live groups to be hosted at Club Paradox, the headquarters of Buraikon, which had, alongside the duo itself, mysteriously vanished 10 years prior. Bei's part opens up with the unit members feeling disappointed that their show wasn't totally sold out, though when prompted, the leader, Alan Sugisano, admits that he has no exact plans to build their fanbase beyond just having good music. Ha Jun-yeon is approached specifically by a fan who knows him for his work as a model, and Anne Faulkner has a run-in with some rude men trying to pick them up when they use the men's restroom. Upon discovering their invitation, Alan is instantly fired up due to his deep passion for hip-hop and fanboy devotion to Buraikon. Though his teammates initially have their doubts about the legitimacy of the event, their concerns are quelled when they hear news of Club Paradox on its man-made island suddenly reappearing in the bay. With Alan leading the charge, the three work together to create a song worthy of performing on the stage of the legendary Club Paradox. The drama ends with the group preparing to step out onto the stage with the resolve to win the competition, and in doing so, prove their individual worths and the worth of their music. The Cat's Whiskers part opens at Bar 7-4, where the unit members are going about business as usual. As they close down shop for the evening, now Akira Simon announces to the others that they have received an invitation to take part in the Paradox Live competition. Yohei Kanbayashi is initially cynical of the event, but reacts with annoyance when the younger members, Shiki Ando and Ryu Natsume, are unfamiliar with Buraikon. He and Simon are old fans and were inspired by the duo to pursue Phantom Live for themselves. When they receive confirmation of Club Paradox's reappearance, though, Simon and Yohei are spurred on to take part, alluding to a previous attempt at glory that ultimately fell short. Shiki, a mess of social anxiety and low self-esteem, admits that he doesn't believe he has what it takes to perform in such a competition and wishes to be excluded. However, Simon firmly insists upon him taking part, saying that it will be a good experience for him to build confidence. Once Shiki and Ryu are out of earshot, however, Simon explains to Yohei that the Alter Trigger group has placed a bid on the land upon which Bar 7-4 sits, and their only hope of raising enough money to bid against this powerful corporate entity is to take part in Paradox Live and win the 10 billion yen prize. The two old friends swear to defend their bar with everything they've got, and the drama ends with the group posting up a sign on the bar's door to let customers know that they will be away temporarily while taking part in the competition. Cozmez's part begins with the twins, Kanata and Nayuta Yatonokami, running through the slums. When their pursuers, a few aggressive men, catch up, they begin to hassle the brothers. Kanata is enraged when they try to put hands on Nayuta, and he manages to subdue the attackers, though he is injured in the fight. Once back in their shabby apartment, Kanata sleeps until evening of the next day and wakes up to Nayuta waiting for him. It's revealed that the twins have stolen the men's bags and they eat what they find inside. As they eat, Kanata and Nayuta ponder the things that they could do with 10 billion yen. They could buy a house, all the food they wanted, clothes, new mixing equipment, and more. The conversation is interrupted when Kanata gets a call from Iori Suiseki of AKYR and is summoned away to do a job. When he goes to speak to his employer, however, Kanata refuses to take the job and informs him that he'll be busy in the coming month with a bigger opportunity. Kanata and Nayuta spend some time composing the new song and later arrive at Club Paradox for the opening show. The twins are unimpressed by the many heads, or hip-hop fans, who have flocked to the venue to watch, and are openly dismissive towards the people they encounter. The drama ends with them stating their determination to take the 10 billion yen for themselves in the hopes of escaping the abject poverty that they live in. Akanyatsura's part opens on the bridge that leads to Club Paradox. Satsuki Ito and Reo Maruyama are physically fighting each other, something that Iori Suiseki playfully encourages, as Zengaho scolds them both. Hokusai Masaki watches on serenely as the other members of the group express their excitement to take part in the competition and the chance to rebuild their Yakuza family with a 10 billion yen prize. Once they reach the club, they peer around at their competitors, recognizing the familiar faces within each unit. When they are approached by a TV reporter, it triggers Ryo's PTSD from the raid on the Suiseki family. Zen escorts him away, while Iori, Satsuki, and Hokusai make awkward small talk with the reporter. Later, the group reconvenes in the dressing room and regains its high spirits. The drop-out ends with Iori revealing his true motives for taking part in the competition. He has suspicions that the group behind the Paradox Live was involved in the raid, and he intends to use the competition to get close to them and take his revenge. The relationships among the units are something like this. Alan and Hajun trust each other after being friends for years. Alan tends to bicker more with Anne, and Anne thinks Hajun has a nice face, but his personality can be nasty. The three of them are Simon's students, and Anne specifically seems to have a little crush on him. Simon and Yohei are longtime partners in business, music, and life. Simon watches over both Ryu and Shiki, while Yohei is specifically Ryu's caretaker and his bartending mentor. Shiki is a little afraid of Ryu but thinks he's nice, while Ryu considers Shiki a good friend. Hokusai considers Ryu to be cute like a cat, while his younger brothers are cute in general. Ryo and Satsuki are always fighting, but are actually rather close. Satsuki has a massive crush on Anne, and he also deeply admires Iori, while finding Zen to be smothering. Zen respects Iori, who retains him as his right-hand man. Iori employs Kanata to do shady jobs. Kanata is also considered to be scary by Shiki, but Nayuta views him as his precious brother. Kanata in return is determined to protect Nayuta. This was the relationship chart that was shared when the series was started, and it gives the basics of character interactions without revealing too much information. This chart would later be expanded upon, including the new units that were introduced in Road to Legend. And with that all out of the way, we can finally get into the stage battles. Desire is the theme for the first stage battle, featuring Bei vs. Cozmez. At the beginning of the first drop-up, Kanata encounters Iori on the street. Iori asks him how his bigger opportunity is going, and asks if he's got a backup plan in case Cozmez doesn't win. Kanata stubbornly insists that they'll take home the prize money and won't be so easily beaten by some spoiled rich kids. But Iori needles him and plants a seed of doubt in his mind. Bei, having just finished a performance, begins to leave the venue to return home before the trap reaction starts up. Alan ignores his unit members' warnings and stays behind, determined to finish work on the track he's composing. Later, though, he's hit by his trap reaction and tries to stumble home, only to bump into Kanata. Kanata tells him that Bei doesn't stand a chance against Cozmez because hip-hop is the music of the downtrodden and disenfranchised. In Kanata's mind, Bei's members can't possibly understand struggle and hardship, thus making them posers in the hip-hop scene. Alan tries to retort, but he is plagued by his trap reaction, which involves his parents rejecting his passion for hip-hop and burning his possessions related to it. As he writhes in the grips of his reaction, Kanata laughs bitterly and steals his phantom metal from him before fleeing the scene. Alan returns to his teammates, who immediately realize that he isn't wearing his phantom metal. Alan, unsure of what happened, is scolded heavily by Anne and Hajun for neglecting to consider his trap reaction and being careless with his phantom metal. Kanata returns to the apartment with carryout from Ramen-te, a popular ramen and Chinese restaurant. As he and Nayuta start to eat, Nayuta asks where he got the extra phantom metal. Kanata admits that he stole it from the red-haired guy from Bei, and defends his decision by saying he's teaching the spoiled rich boy about the harshness of the world. Nayuta pushes back, insisting that a victory like this would be embarrassing for them, and he asks why Kanata is having doubts in their abilities. The second drop-off starts with Alan returning home from searching for his phantom metal. While he's convinced that Kanata's abilities as a musician prove that he's above such cheap tricks, Anne is convinced that Kanata has stolen the phantom metal and has figured out where the twins lived through some connections. Alan and Anne proceed to the slums to locate Kanata and Nayuta. After much bickering amongst themselves, the two members of Bei manage to find the correct apartment, and Anne begins hammering on the door and demanding Alan's phantom metal back. Alan, meanwhile, expresses his lingering uncertainty about Kanata having stolen it in the first place, and sparks a new argument with Anne. The twins, unwilling to give the item back, slip past the others and run off into the labyrinthine slums. They're certain they've lost their pursuers by slipping down a shortcut unknown to outsiders, but are caught off guard when Hajun appears. When his unit members catch up, he's quick to say that he isn't helping Alan, but rather acting in the best interest of the group. Hajun then points out to Kanata that, in stealing Alan's phantom metal, he's revealed that he doesn't have confidence in himself or his brother's abilities. Now trapped and forced to encounter Bei head-on, Kanata explains himself by expressing his anger and frustration within his circumstances. He and Nayuta have grown up not knowing their father and have been neglected and taken advantage of over and over again. He feels that Alan doesn't have a right to his phantom metal because he doesn't understand the true hell that he and his brother have experienced. Alan counters that they are the same. Though their upbringings are different, they were cast out and found a voice in hip hop. Because hip hop is music that gives a voice to the oppressed, fears and troubles can be put into lyrics and made into weapons that empower performers. Hearing this from Alan and realizing that their views on hip hop aren't so different, Kanata finally breaks and returns his phantom metal. Ultimately, I guess, Kanata was valid in his concern because they won the stage battle with their song Ambitious against cozmez's Get It. Some of the important takeaways of this stage battle are Iori's inclination for shit-stirring, Kanata and Nayuta's living situation in the slums and their familiarity with violence and petty crime, Alan's trauma and feelings regarding hip-hop, and Hajun's unexpected presence and apparent familiarity with the layout of the slums. Next is the Justice stage battle featuring the Cat's Whiskers versus Akan Yatsura. The first drop opens with Iori in his office at Club Candy, looking over sales numbers and pondering his investigation into the powers at work behind the Paradox Live. Zen arrives with sales reports and announces that they're at a record high, thanks in part to Anne's popularity as a hostess. Iori then reveals to Zen that he suspects that the Altered Trigger Company, which was possibly involved in the raid against the Suiseki family, is also somehow involved in the Paradox Live competition. He explains his motivation to take part in the competition and win, so they can get in close contact with the organizers and can strike back against them. This conversation is interrupted by the boys, and Iori stresses to Zen not to tell the boys anything. Hokusai, Satsuki, and Reo announce that they have finished cleaning up the club, and when Satsuki and Reo inevitably begin bickering, Satsuki bumps into a Manaki Neko, or beckoning cat, and knocks it over. Zen begins to scold Satsuki and Reo, but Iori is suddenly reminded of a connection he has with the cat's whiskers, and he takes Zen and the boys to Bar 7-4. Initially, the bar staff is on guard as the delinquent mob saunters in at closing time. However, Iori calls out to his old friend Yohei, and Hokusai and Ryu acknowledge each other. Now welcomed by the members of the Cat's Whiskers, the adults of Akanyatsura place drink orders, and the boys struggle for a moment, not sure what to order. Satsuki notably tries to order bourbon despite being underage. Iori offers to give the boys some pocket money to go for ramen, and says that Ryu and Shiki can go along too. Shiki initially refuses the offer, but Reo insists that he come along because they're schoolmates. While Hokusai, Satsuki, and Reo attend night classes, Shiki attends the same school during the day. So the boys all go out to Raimante while the adults stay behind to talk. Zen notices that Yohei has a Manaki Neko at the bar that's identical to the one Iori has. Iori and Yohei begin to reminisce about their time together in the gang, working as teenage bouncers at Club Candy. In a flashback, Yohei shows off to Iori that he's begun to learn to play the piano. Their conversation is cut short by the outbursts from some rowdy customers looking to cause trouble. Also present is a big spender, who the bouncers recognize as being affiliated with Altered Trigger. Not wanting to ruin his good mood, Iori thinks fast and pulls the fire alarm to force the hostesses and guests to evacuate. They take advantage of the confusion to single out the rowdy customers, holding them back while the others exit the club. The second drop-up begins with Iori and Yohei roughing up the troublemakers. Later, Iori and Yohei are given the matching Manaki Neko by the Suiseki Gumi boss for their problem-solving on that day. Though the teenage gangsters don't understand these rewards for their work, they set their sights on doing great things for the Suiseki family and for the old man in the future. After telling the story, Iori reflects on the presence of Altered Trigger and asks Yohei if he knows anything about the company's workings. He points out specifically that it's odd that Altered Trigger is trying to buy out the land Bar 7-4 is on, while the prize money for the Paradox Live is the exact amount that Simon and Yohei will need to make a counterbid. This idea shocks the bar owner and barmaster, which disappoints Iori as he realizes he won't be gaining any insight from them. He warns them, though, that there is something odd about the competition. The boys return with a bang, having enjoyed their little outing. Ryu asks what the adults are talking about, and despite being brushed off, he comments that they must be discussing the people who are standing behind everyone. Iori is immediately suspicious and tries to question Ryu, only to be asked by Simon not to press him for details. Iori stands to leave and lets Yohei know that just because they're old friends, he won't go easy on him during the stage battle. Zen and the boys are his family now, and he'll do anything to protect them. Yohei states that he doesn't intend to back down either, and that he won't lose his bar or the people he cares about. Finally, Iori and Zen manage to herd their boys out of the bar to head home. On his way out the door, Zen is stopped by Yohei, who tells him to look out for Iori. Zen replies that he doesn't need to be told to do so, and he leaves. The drama closes with a member of the Cat's Whiskers finishing up their closing tasks around the bar. AKYR will go on to win this stage battle with their song, Outsiders, AKYR's Justice, against the Cat's Whiskers, Faith. Some of the important takeaways from the drama are, there are some things that Iori and Zen keep from the younger three members out of concern for their well-being. Anne is a very successful hostess at Club Candy, the most successful at the club, in fact. Iori and Yohei were once partners within the Suiseki crime family, but they fell out of touch at some point and haven't seen each other in some years. The Akan boys, while somewhat boisterous, mesh surprisingly well with the eccentric Ryu and anxious Shiki. And finally, Ryu appears to have some awareness of the events unfolding, but either unknowingly or willfully turns off this perceptiveness by masking it with his usual goofy behavior. I hope you found this video's summary of these first three story parts to be useful, and let me know if there's anything significant I missed. Obviously, I can't include every detail, or else it'll just be me re-recording the drop on English. Hopefully, though, this gives you a bit of insight into the story to this point. Next time, I'll be summarizing the Pride and Family dramas, so I hope you'll tune in for that. Until next time, take care, heads.